Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over the market, let's go over Tesla, and let's figure out what has happened. A bit of a volatile day for Tesla today as well. So as usual, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button. It does help a lot. This is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. And again, my membership section on YouTube is now live. If you're interested, the link is down below, $2.99 a month, where essentially I share my intraday thoughts and updates on Tesla live and chart updates throughout the day as the stock is moving. And so yeah, if you're interested, the link is below. But moving into a Tesla closing down only 0.8%, which isn't too bad considering it was down about like 3.5% or so at the lowest point in the day, of course relative to the previous closing day. On the news of Zachary Kirkhorn leaving or stepping down or whatever, we don't really know why exactly it's happening, but essentially he is no longer going to be the CFO of Tesla. He is being replaced, but he is staying on Tesla, or at Tesla rather, until year end to sort of help the transition of the new CFO. And a little bit of panic on that, if you will. And but yeah, I personally don't think it's all that bad. Obviously, Zach was phenomenal, but it's not as bad as people are probably freaking out over it. But nonetheless, let's discuss what it means through technical analysis as well. So the most important thing to note here, ladies and gentlemen, is the fact that we did finally go below the 50-day moving average. We pretty much started off the morning, right at the morning. Oh my goodness, what was this? Let me go ahead and I don't know what I just did, but go ahead and go back up here like this. But we did start off the morning pretty much retesting the 50-day moving average, just a little candle over here. We can run up and then went straight, down from there, which was this little retest that we had. You can see pretty much exactly going up to the 50-day moving average and getting a rejection almost exactly at it. So that's number one. That's not a good sign. The fact that we're closing below the 50-day moving average is actually a little bit bearish, right? Now, keep that in mind. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it's definitely more bearish than bullish. That's for sure. You cannot question that whatsoever. However, on the flip side, the bullish aspect of this situation and the way the candle closed today on the daily chart is the fact that it did do a dragonfly doji candle, which again, these kind of candles are usually a potential, again, nothing's guaranteed, but potential sign of a reversal coming up, whether it's in an uptrend or a downtrend. In this case, obviously, we're on a bit of a downtrend ever since earnings with a nice little dragonfly doji, pretty much right off that 242-ish level that I've been talking about for so long now. We finally visited it, and then we got a beautiful bounce off of it so far. And then again, the issues were still below the 50-day moving average, but again, with the dragonfly doji candle, that's not a bad sign, right, of a potential reversal. We need to see follow through tomorrow. So what I'm expecting tomorrow personally is at least a starting off as a green day potentially, right? But I do expect an actual retest of the 50-day moving average on like a new day, whether it's tomorrow or sometime this week. Essentially, it could be very well be tomorrow, but I really want to see what happens if we come back up to the 50-day moving average on another day. And do we just get rejected, right? Do we just come up to it kind of similar to what we did here? We came back below the 21 EMA, kind of went a little bit below it, but then we finally came up to it, kind of danced around it, constantly got rejected. And then of course we ultimately won, obviously even lower, right? And that's kind of what I want to see what happens. Does this kind of situation happen with the 50-day moving average as well? Do we just come up and consistently get rejected by it rather, and then continue making our way lower? Because don't forget, we also of course have the 100-day moving average not too far below us as well. Obviously the higher the day, the number, if you will, of the moving average, so like 100 or 200 even, right? The more days, the longer or the bigger the moving average is, kind of the more weight it usually has, the more important, if you will, it technically can be. So in other words, 50-day moving average, as good as it is, it doesn't hold as much weight as, for instance, breaking below or bouncing off the 100-day moving average. So just keep that in mind. I still think there's a decent possibility that we actually come down to this. Again, I still think it'll take time. I actually don't even think it'll happen in August. I personally think it'll happen probably in September, but I wouldn't be surprised if sometime in September we actually do come down to the 100-day moving average as it slowly keeps moving upwards, sort of trying to meet us very slowly, but surely. And I think by then, it'll probably get into the 220s, the low 220s, sometime in September, and that's where we overall will ultimately meet us, somewhere around the 220s, right? That's just my guess right now. That's just my kind of, that's what I'm thinking right now. Of course, taking the Fibonacci's, right, that we did so many times, but essentially we take the Fibonacci's, go from here to here, right? Whether you use that as the swing low or you use this as the swing low right over here, overall irrelevant. It kind of paints a similar picture to where I personally believe will come down to the 0.5 Fibonacci, which is again around the 226-ish level, pretty much in both situations, right? It doesn't really matter if you use this as a swing low or that as a swing low. It brings you to the rough same level regardless. I'm trying to click it and move it. Here we go, right? Even if you go here, you can see the 0.5 takes us to 230, right? Pretty much the same thing, right? Overall around the 220, 230-ish range, I definitely think is a very real possibility. But again, I do think it'll take some time, and I don't think it'll be a straight downhill from here to there. I mean, it could be, but I just don't think it will be. Now, that's the kind of, good and bad, if you will, right? Below 50-day, bad. Dragonfly Doji on a potential downtrend reversal coming up. Good. We need to see the fall through tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be really important, and the day after will be also really important to see if we can break above this or not. Now, another thing that's important to note, like I said before, is not only is 240, a massive level. So it's a very important level that we did bounce off of, because again, we did that before and we had a beautiful rally. I don't think we'll have a rally this aggressively. We might, I just don't think we will. But, even though we're still technically setting higher lows, because we didn't go actually lower than this, right? The RSI is still looking overall a little bit weak. It's still setting lower lows, and it's really doing the opposite of what the chart is doing, which again, to me, is not a good sign still overall, right? Short term, we still can get bounces, but kind of slightly longer time frame, like kind of short to like late short, if that makes sense, to like kind of almost approaching medium term, it's still looking a little bit questionable in my opinion for now, until we probably come down to around that 220. I think that's where it'll start looking a lot more promising. Now, with that being said, like I talked about, the 240 level, extremely important. We came down, bounced off of it, beautiful stuff, right? But another thing to note is the fact that, we do have extremely low volume below the 240s range, right? You can see here pretty much 240 and below, down to 220, exceptionally low volume, traded volume, right? So just keep that in mind as well, right? That usually means that you slice through up or down, doesn't matter, like butter, right? You just slash right through it, kind of like how we did when we ran up. Same concept here on the down side as well. Thankfully, though, we did actually hold the 240s so far, so that is a good sign. Another thing that I did talk to my members about earlier today, that I talked about, when we were still trading around 245, is on the 65-minute chart. If we open this up and we go over here, you can see, if we zoom in like this a little bit, you can see these order blocks, right? These order blocks are pretty important. Let me remove some of these moving averages because it's a little bit crowded in my opinion. So I'll only take, I'll keep these ones as is. Yeah, this is fine. Now, so the one thing to note is this green bar, right? I'm actually going to remove this for now. I don't really care about this as much anymore personally. The one thing to note are these long green bars and the blue bars, right? So the green bar is essentially a buy order block. In other words, saying that there is obviously a lot of potential buying pressure within this kind of, frame of price, if you will, right? This range of price. That's exactly what happened. I talked to my members about it. We came right down into that beautiful order block and we got a bounce off of it, right? That's exactly what I said. I believe this one right here. All right, 5 hours ago. What I talked about, as you can see, as it was kind of coming right into it, I talked about how, there is, meaning if there's a spot to get at least some bit of a bounce from it, it should be around here. But if 240 snaps, then it'll get uglier faster. So that's exactly what we talked about. That's exactly what happened. We did get that bounce off of that level. Now, of course, right above us, we have some sell order blocks sitting around 257 to 260. And of course, the infamous one sitting at 267 to 270 as well, right? Massive order blocks that have gave us, much resistance in the prior, times that we were trading within that range. So take that as you will. So we have a lot of resistance coming up. Usually, again, as you break through resistances, or supports, it becomes resistance. And as you can see here on the 65-minute chart, right, this kind of 255 level was a good support, right? We came down to it, massive support here, support here, support here. We had a bit of a support and kind of around this overall level, even as low as 250, right? And now, of course, we're coming back up into it. Usually not a good sign, because now it's going to act as a resistance instead of a support like it did before. So this kind of 250, 255 range, even as high as 260, all these levels now are going to be, unfortunately, a resistance, and it'll be hard to break through them once again, especially considering we have these order blocks, sell order blocks more specifically, not too far above us at the levels I just mentioned. And of course, on the daily chart, we have the 50-day moving average also not too far above us as well, sitting at pretty much $254 per share. Also, again, going to be a massive resistance. So it's going to be a pretty difficult road back up. And that's why I personally believe Tesla is on an overall downtrend still, even though I think, there's a possibility we'll come up to 255 roughly. Maybe we'll go a little bit higher. Maybe we'll come up to 21 EMA again. No one knows for sure, of course. But the point is the fact that if we're going to go back up, it's gonna be a lot of, kind of roadblocks to just really get through. There's not that much positivity on the horizon. It's gonna be some time before Cybertruck comes out, or some like major catalyst that really pushes Tesla back up once again. And especially with these catalysts, like of course a CFO leaving. Again, I don't think it's a huge deal, but it's still technically more of a negative than a positive. Especially also we have the potential fight happening with Elon and Zuckerberg. That's probably not going to be very good for Tesla, because that poses a risk for Elon. And if Elon, knock on wood, of course, something bad happens to Elon, the stock's going to fall about half. Let's just be honest here, right? It's not going to be pretty set, right? Especially if it's abrupt, right? If Elon, let's say, again, knock on wood, perishes during the fight, or something that really, really bad happens to him during that fight, this stock is going to like 150 pretty much the next day. You know what I mean? That's going to be really, really, really bad, horribly bad in many, many ways. So just keep that in mind. So that's going to be a potential, weight on Tesla stock as well, potentially for the foreseeable future, at least until a fight is done and, nothing ends up happening that's bad, right? So that's going to be something else to consider as well. So just FYI, there is some positivity here, like the Dragonfly Doji, of course, and the beautiful bounce from the 240 range. But other than that, overall, in my opinion, it still looks a little bit bearish, as much as I hate to say it. It really does. I have sold calls against the shares that I do own. And actually at the bottom over here, and almost at the bottom, around 245, I did sell a cash secured put. Just one, nothing too crazy, at 240 for pretty much the end, or I think September 1st. If I have to buy, fantastic. If not, fantastic. But I don't care too much about buying at 240. I personally now am just waiting, because my most recent purchase was at 253. I'm just waiting for, what's it called? I'm waiting for the 220s and 230s. That's where I'm personally waiting for. That's where I really want to start buying a lot more aggressively. I'm still about just over half in cash, as I've been buying this dip. But nonetheless, that's what I am seeing. So let me know what you guys think down below. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button. The MACD, by the way, still not looking too great. And yeah, ultimately, not the best look right now. Again, September, October, not the best, actually literally the worst months for Tesla and even the market, September especially. So, there's a lot of headwind on the horizon, right? I don't expect a massive move back up to like 280 or anything like that anytime soon. I think that'll take like at least 3 months minimum before we even can think about 280. But with that being said, thank you all so much for watching. And of course, as usual, we'll react to it as the price moves. Nothing is guaranteed, so we have to keep reacting as the price is telling us what's potentially happening next. So yeah, I'll keep you guys updated, but thank you all so much for watching. See you for the next one. Peace.